One day, I was in class with my professor Israel. A comment he made during class was, "What experiences have affected you negatively?" Then he asked, was really a bad experience, or is it just the perspective from which you are seeing it? That made me think, what if the moments in your life that hurt you most were all along preparation? When I was 8 years old, my life split in two. At the same time that my parents were divorcing, I was leaving my home and my best friends with it. This was the first time I ever learned something that we don't understand until we're older. Sometimes the world changes without asking you, and that's okay. My name is Iam Patrick, and today I want to share with you how being the new kid constantly shaped me into the person I am today. But more importantly, how this experience made me understand something connected to the theme of this event. Young people don't always learn inside of classrooms. We learn to think, we learn to feel, and eventually we learn to act. Growing up as a kid, I wasn't the most social one. Sports were never a part of my world. And well, for a while, neither were video games, so I set my eye on something different. Board games, puzzles, worlds made of imagination and rules that require creative thinking and reasoning. First, of course, came the classics like chess and Chinese checkers. Those games set up the basis. Once I got the hang of it, then came more complex universes, like, for example, role-playing games or card games. These hobbies are not the most social ones. They require connection, intentional connection. Well, you see, when I first entered school, and maybe you guys would agree with me, making friends is pretty easy. Like, you sit next to someone, you share a snack, you talk about something, you like the same thing, and suddenly you have a new friend. Well, you see, growing up, friendship becomes a little bit more complex than that. In my life, well, it had a pattern. My mom works as an actress and as a TV host. And my dad, he led guided meditations. These jobs meant movement, so we moved often. New house, new school, new faces, a new version of me. I became very familiar with this title, the new kid. Of course, at the beginning, it made me sad, but I didn't question it. I learned how to move on, and I learned how to restart. Every time I restarted, I kept something with me, a friendship, a connection, a sense of belonging. You know, once you have to move enough times, you start protecting yourself from goodbye, even before hello begins. Well, then came the year of 2018. This was the year where I became 8 years old, but it was the year where my parents separated due to complicated issues as well. When my mom gave me the news, I was shocked and deeply sad, but I had felt it coming. Well, there were no clues, no fights, no argues. There were some clues, but none an 8-year-old would ever notice. I was very sad because reading about it or watching it in movies is one thing, but experiencing divorce is another completely different thing, and it hurt deeply. But my mom taught me something very special, something that I will share with you. She said, happiness is not something that comes after everything is perfect. Happiness is something that you choose. And when life gave me the two options, I picked being happy. Well, when I was learning to live with the fact that I had to visit my dad in a different home from now on, we had to move once again, and this time it was different. It wasn't just a new house a few blocks away. It was a new city completely. Suddenly, seeing my friends required a plane ticket, Distance stopped being just a car ride. It wasn't just being the new kid. But here is when all the dots clicked. All those board games, strategic worlds, all those restarts, they weren't random, they were training. See, board games became my refugee, the place where I could sit back, think, rebuild, and try again. But here is something important. Board games were my refugee. Not everyone finds strength in the same place. Some people find it in music, some people find it in sports, some people find it in friendships. This means that everyone is unique. So, I want to invite you to think about something for a moment. What was your refugee? What helped you grow during a difficult moment? Maybe you didn't notice it at the time, but chances are something in your life helped you grow stronger, better, when life was difficult. Here is something important. Don't just learn inside of classrooms. We learn to think, we learn to feel, and we learn to act. I just said that, but sometimes the biggest and most important lessons are often invisible. Yes, we learn math, we learn science, we learn languages, but we also learn to connect with people. We learn how to rebuild. And the world has enough successful people. I myself want to be a successful person. I know many of you want to also be successful people, but the world has enough of those. The world needs people who know how to rebuild, who can enter unknown places and start over. And maybe that is one of the most important lessons that can be born inside of a classroom. I want you to think about something for a while, okay? What was the most hurtful moment in your life? What was the most difficult moment in your life? The moment that made you fall. Instead of asking, why does this happen to me? Try asking, what is this teaching me? Because pain can either close you or help you grow. And if you choose to grow, you may find something extraordinary. You're now stronger than you were when you first faced that storm. I was 8 years old when my world changed. Today, I see that I didn't choose to live the storm. The storm came at me, but I know I chose to grow. Young people don't learn inside of classrooms. Well, they do learn inside of classrooms, but we learn to feel, we learn to think, and eventually we learn to act. And sometimes the ideas that were born inside of a classroom can grow to change the world. Thank you very much.